Introverts can be wildly misunderstood, so I want to give you some tips to help you understand the introverts in your life. There's so many different ways to define what an introvert is, but I often think the easiest way is to use this rule of thumb, which is imagine that you've been at a party that you're truly enjoying with company you truly love. How do you feel when you hit about the 2-hour mark? And if you're more of an extrovert, you probably feel super energized and you're hoping the party will last. And if you're an introvert, no matter how good a time you've been having, you might be getting that feeling of wishing that you could just teleport home right now. What extroverts should know about their introverted significant others. Introverts are often drawn to extroverts because the extroverts do a lot of the socializing for them. They make parties easier for them, and they just do more of the talking in general, which introverts often really appreciate. And then on the flip side, extroverts are often drawn to introverts because the introverts ground them and keep them from kind of spinning out of control. But of course, that chemistry often also results in some uncomfortable situations, like what happens when the weekend comes and one person's idea of the perfect weekend is to be partying all weekend, and the other person wishes that they could be cozy on the sofa watching Netflix. What do you do then? The first answer is just for the two partners to really understand each other and know where their differences are coming from so that you're not personalizing them. You're not thinking there's some kind of fault with my partner. It's just that we're wired differently. And then once you've established that, can we negotiate this out between us? And can we do it in a way where we don't have to be fighting the same battle every single weekend, but instead we have a working understanding? The other thing is you don't have to do everything together. So if there's one person who has a lot stronger social needs than the other person does, they can be going out with friends too. You don't always have to be going out as a couple. What parents should know about introverted kids. It's important to understand that there is a difference between shyness and introversion. Introversion is about the preference of how you want to spend your time and the desire to spend your time in environments where there's fewer stimuli coming at you. Shyness is much more about the fear of social judgment. So when it comes to people who are parenting children who are either shy or introverted or both, one of the most important things to know is the concept of the long runway. I'll give you an example of this. If you think of a little kid who's first learning how to swim, there are going to be some kids who just plunge into the water right away. For many quiet or shy children, they don't do that. So the answer for a parent whose child feels this way is not to overprotect them and say, you never need to learn to swim, but it's also not to throw them in the deep end and hope that it all works out. The answer is to take things little by little along that longer runway. So maybe you make sure to get to the pool on a quiet day when you know there's not going to be lots of stimuli coming at the child and they've got the pool more or less to themselves. And maybe on that first day, all you do is the child sticks their toe in the water and afterward they get ice cream and you declare victory, you're done. And then you go back a few days later and you go through the same process, but maybe this time they go in up to their knees. And you do this little by little, and eventually that kid will love to swim just as much as the one who plunged into the water from the beginning, but they had that longer runway. What teachers should know about their introverted students. An introverted student can be deeply engaged in the classroom and not necessarily be showing it. So you need to look for other ways for them to demonstrate that engagement and connect with you and with their fellow students, other than the traditional, raise your hand every time you have something to say. So you want to look for projects where the students might be able to work one-on-one together or share their thoughts in writing. And you also want to be especially attuned when it comes time for report cards and parent-teacher conferences. You've got to be really careful about how you frame the feedback that you're giving. What bosses should know about introverted employees. Well, for one thing, your introverted employees are going to get so much more done and so much better work done if you can give them uninterrupted blocks of time where they get to put their head down, go into that delicious focus zone, and know that they're not going to be pulled out for a meeting or for something else, which incidentally is great for everyone. It's just that your introverts really need it. There has been a trend, really for decades now, to move offices towards huge open office plans where there's very little privacy for anyone, and how problematic this is really for everybody, but in particular for introverts. And so we really need to be rethinking office design. Many companies, for economic reasons, are going to want to stick to their open office plans, but even within those plans, we can be designing nooks and crannies and having more of them, more sort of privacy spots for people to go into. They need to be centrally located. They need to be widely available. I hope you found this helpful, and if you want to hear even more, check out A Quiet Life in 7 Steps, only from Audible.